The Wendigos are coming. The Wendigos are coming. You're gonna meet hunger, encounter starvation. The Wendigo spirit will visit you. The Wendigo is coming to the community. You were not working hard enough, the Wendigo will get you.
I was young, like I was a child when I first heard the Wendigo stories. One that really stuck in my head because it did, instill that fear in me that this entity is out there. That sickness that comes, that the Wendigo, that consumptive, that hunger that will, never be satisfied, is a harsh warning for us as to the way that we're allowing the economy to exist. When we look at the history of Northern Ontario and the history of our food system and economy, the state of food insecurity is not an inherent state in our communities. It is, this symptom of consumptive mindset, right, which is not beneficial to the people who live there. Typically we're left with the mess, right? So what's left after the mine, or what's left after the trees are gone, or after the pelts are gone, leaving, local people in a situation that we see today, right, which is food insecurity and low economic opportunity and ill health,
When you think about systematic oppression, we really need to teach our youth, our community members, about the history of Hudson Bay. You go to the Hudson Bay grounds, there's a statue there of the pelt press. That right there in itself says how true oppression is in our First Nation. Why? Pelt press was there to press the pelts down, squish them, squish them, squish them, squish them, until there were a certain height on the press to rip off our First Nation people, our trappers. And it's still standing there. They take care of it every year, they paint it, they try to upkeep it. Yeah, it's part of Hudson Bay Company history, but it symbolizes the control, the monopolizing of our First Nations people. Growing up, you see the differences in culture, you see the differences in education, you see the difference in systems compared to a reservation. But more recently, it's more noticeable because I'm a parent, and to feed them, comparison from Sudbury, probably like $2.50 a month, it jumped up to $2.50 every 2 days.
So we're on the Ontario side of James Bay. We've got Moose Moose Factory at the south, and then that's as far as the train line goes. Further up north is Fort Albany, and across the river from them is Saskatchewan, and further up to the next river is Attawapiskat. When you're raising children in the north, you're buying a lot of food, and unfortunately the only options was either northern stores or the other local retailer. But I was getting tired of the prices that I pay for the simple foods that I need, the healthy foods that I need in the house. Almost all the time forced to buy the unhealthy canned food, the salty, dried foods and stuff, and that's not very good for our family nutrition. So leaving the store, I would often feel a little depressed about all the money that I have to put out for food.
Hudson Bay Company up until the mid-'80s was the entity. Previous to that, going back a long time, Northwest Company and Hudson Bay Company were separate. They were competitors in the fur industry, and this is part of the history of Canada's colonial establishment, right? They then merged, many years ago in the mid-'80s. A group of employees purchased and separated the Northwest Company from the Hudson's Bay Company. So what we have today in the northern store is owned by the Northwest Company, and they have no affiliation with the Hudson Bay Company as it was, previously.
So the three highest costs of living in Moose Factory is the cost of food, the cost of energy, and the cost of transportation. Cost of food is set by the local retailers. Cost of energy is set by Hydro One, the fuel providers. Cost of transportation is we have some natural Mother Nature barriers here. We've got the mighty Moose River that we live in the middle of, and then that gets pretty pricey. A lot of the services that you pay for, all of that money goes south. The northern store has shareholders in Winnipeg. Profits go out of the community.
These current structures, treat these stores as if they're the martyr that, takes on operating in this remote north, and, they'll cite things like brick and mortar costs and all of these things. But as you start to dismantle some of these myths, you see that really the problem is, capitalism and consumption, right? And the way that a corporation will behave in that environment is like any other, right? That they're meant to maximize profit for their shareholders. So, there's a disconnection from the well-being and livelihood of local people. And again, a focus on the extraction of wealth for external interests. In the modern context, this is very much shareholders in the Northwest Company.
Growing up in Moose Factory, my mom and dad opened up a store called Tiger North. And their goal was to have the competition, to have a better selection, lower the prices. But my mother couldn't compete with Northern because they had that room to lower their prices. And she couldn't. She was losing money. Long story short, she ended up shutting down because she couldn't compete. And guess what Northern did? Jacked their prices back up. But you have to think too that, okay, if they can lower their prices while competing, how come they couldn't stay that way?
was definitely a culture change moving from the south to the community here. My family of 6, my wife, myself, and my 4 kids, we pay on an average of $400 to $500 a week. It's really expensive. We do what we can to put food on our table. I myself work 2 full-time jobs in order to make enough money to do so. My wife, she works 2 jobs as well.
Water is being poisoned by the mines. Land is being disturbed. My Shishi clan family trap line, they're not allowed to hunt because of the De Beers mine. In 1986 or 87, that's when De Beers came along. And they talked. They had a steering committee. There were elder advisors in there. Suddenly, they dismantled the elder advisors. Elders were looking at inside the community. They wanted a new water plant, a new fire department, a new school, new everything. That was their vision. But De Beers screwed us. I remember families coming down, taking the meat. They were giving it out here. And you can see the men coming down this way. I remember that. I seen meat, moose meat or caribou meat given out. Nobody bought it. For me, I do go hunt, but it's about money. It's expensive up here. Mosquito costs about 14,000 bucks. A boat maybe 10,000. A motor, another 4,000. Here at the store, it's really you can't save. You just live paycheck to paycheck. You can't really live.
Right there.
Yeah.
Bush now. What smell? The elders were always right about things. They did say one day you'll buy the water, and it's happening already. And the only thing that we're capable of going to was underneath the earth now. So we do have spring water that comes from the earth. There's a few of them in our community down the road here, and down below the rivers there at the island. That we do have that spring water we could occupy to deliver to the elders for iron and the vitamins in the water that are better than the water that we buy from the store. So I don't want to say more about that water because the government might just come and steal it again. There's only Northerners that go shopping. When the local community runs out of gas, the Northern will jack up his gas for a long period of time till they get gas. People that like food that they like in the store, a Northern will know that the particular meat is bought constantly, and he'll raise that price. That's how he works. Yeah. Even with skidoos, makes me want to be a giant and go put my fist upon that. and crush that mortar and kick it out.
The stuff that First Nations people have been through. Residential school for 2 generations. They've been through being put on reservations. Oh, I hate that word. Hate it with a passion. My reserve. IR 68. That's Moose Cree. You know, a reservation is like a camp that what people put First Nation people on. That's not yours. You were put there to rot. You were put there to be displaced, to be controlled. Why do you think they're numbered? Why do you think you have a number?
There is a lot of energy towards the extraction and accumulation of wealth, right? And that's deeply ingrained in a lot of people in Canada, right? To think that that's what the forests are for, right? That that's what we're here for. The consumptive nature of capitalism, of colonialism, of Christianity will never stop, right? It will never be satisfied. And again, that goes back to that Wendigo story, right? Is that hunger will never be satisfied.
When I was in the residential school, we were told to not speak the language, or told to not speak at all in our language. So when we got caught, we suffered for it.
I'm 4 to 5 years old. My first sight of drugs, I was 9 or 11 years old. I grew up in that environment. Some people, some kids like me, I have friends like my dad's buddies, and we got friends that sold. We thought it was normal. Well, I thought it was normal. Now I see it was wrong. Now I know why it was happening. It was about the schools.
The purpose of residential schools is to make the children ashamed of their culture in communities, so that when they see their return to their communities, they will feel embarrassed by it. It's a wiping out of the original personality and produce something different that will be more acceptable. And that's where the total institution comes in. You are registered to be refined and redefined. Erase your memory, erase your mythology, erase your history, erase your language, erase your presentation of self, and become someone else. And today, we still have that. It's still an erasure of the original person in Canada. And when you want to erase somebody, you deprogram, you unsocialize, you get rid of many aspects of the individual. And in order to do that, you've got to make that person suffer. Pulling your hair using straps, using rulers, pinching, kneeling on the floor, squatting on the floor, concrete floor, being put outside in 40 below weather, it's another form of punishment. Electric chair was used from 1941. It's just the thought of going into an electric chair. That's the terrifying part of a 7-year-old child. Now it's bedtime for children going to the dormitories. Now the pedophiles go. So they take the child, take them across the compound, into the residence, into the bishop's room. And that's where the child is kept until bishop is finished. And then they could bring the child back. And continuously over and over again. By the time you get out of there, you feel so, unworthy. So how can you have enough showers to be able to clean yourself? And so when you get out, you run away as far away as you can from the community. We end up for us, it was maybe Cochrane first, and then North Bay, and then Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, all the urban cities. And then alcohol will try and make you forget. Now drugs will maybe make you forget. You're trying to achieve some kind of peace or happiness or whatever it is you can have for the given moment.
We gotta start looking at solutions rather than the problems. And this is one of the things that I'll always tell people. Hold your hand in front of your face. You see your goal back there. You'll see it. Just concentrate on your goal. But these are your problems, your oppression, your poverty. Chief and council don't get along. Housing. Maybe your education system sucks or your healthcare. You look at all the problems. You don't see your goal anymore. All you see is those problems. doesn't mean you can't stop yourself and say, okay, I'm looking back at my solution, my goal. Try it. Once you look at your goal, it's almost like you can see through your hand.
Even though that there's a lot of drugs, alcohol in the community and it's taken a toll on us, we're still thriving in a way with our ceremonies. It's coming back more than ever, and a lot of people are going back to their traditional ways.
To the Creator, two brothers wished for something, and one brother wished for a happy family, that he wished for children in his life. The other brother had greed, that he wanted a forever lasting life, and God turned him into a rock. And that's the rock we use in our sweats. So he helps us in the sweat, and what we seek for towards spirituality. So fire, water, earth does that, the air does that too. It opens your pores in your system and cleanses you. That's what spirituality is all about. It's a sweat lodge.
This is youth culture camp, and it was, we used to call it youth site. When we were making these, we thought about the 7 grandfather teachings, so, you know, like to represent for each of these buildings here. And in them is to host workshops. And when you bring out people here, there's communication, connection, you know, people interacting with each other. And I also find that you can build each other, you know, bring each other up.
This is Rafi, my buddy Ravi. He's making drums now on his own. I taught him once, and he's an expert now. And here's some of the kids that finished their drums right here. Those were his drums that he made. Show your. Yeah, see. And we lost a lot of our ways back. And we're just reclaiming all our ways back. There's a spiritual aspect to it. Because when we sing and dance, it's our ancestors that are flowing through those songs and the music. That's what makes it powerful. This is all handmade. This is made from ash in our area, Maniwaki, where I live. And then this is hand-scraped deer hide. You can hear the slide in there. Well, there's then you got the beat, the double beat, and then you put the slide in there in between the beats, and then you got to sing on top of that, all in time. That's a round dance.
My name's Ben, and I'm almost 29. Actually, in 3 more months. And me and my friends have a drumming group. I'd miss him. I really miss him because he passed away like 2012. He was 94 years old. And I used to look at his pictures, and I saw a picture when he had a drum. Then my mom showed me a video when he was drumming. And I was proud of him. And that's what I miss about him. That's why I want to be a drummer when I'm older.
When we think about that systematic oppression 400 years ago till today, Northern still controls our way of life in terms of eating, cost to feed your family, the jobs. You can only work as a cashier, stock person. You can't move up to upper management where you actually run the store. You can only stay low. Our food security suffers because it's almost like intergenerational curse. It's like a learned dependence.
We're still struggling out here as it is with schooling being not at a top bar in most communities, where housing is getting just ignored, and just all these things added up. And then we also have our food that we eat taken advantage of again. So as expecting mother, you're expected to eat healthy, right? You're supposed to eat healthy because you're growing life inside you. And it's very hard, it's very difficult to eat healthy while on a reserve because the prices are so high. I think Northern Star knows that they're the only store that we can buy from them. So in every reserve, Fort Albany, Cache, Attawabscat, every reserve out there has a Northern almost. They know they can set the prices of whatever they want, and we have to pay for it.
If you want to buy a spaghetti dinner, that's what your go-to, your fail-safe, easy meal, cheap and quick. Back then when I was living in Sudbury, I think it was like maybe $1 for spaghetti, $1 for sauce, and maybe $6 for hamburger. Here, $20 for hamburger, $6 for spaghetti, and spaghetti sauce. 2 cans at like $6. You've seen the prices at Northern.
You know, you can spend the limited money that you have at the store purchasing as much food as you can with that money, but because of that, you're going to be getting, you know, higher processed food than you would, you know, an ability to buy whole foods, right? So, you know, it's a matter of sort of stretching the money that people have as much as possible. Ultimately, the impact is felt and expressed most strongly in the health and well-being of people.
Our community is about 3,500. And we have heart disease, a lot of kidney failure compared to the population. We have cancer. We have diabetes is rampant, so like an epidemic. And a lot of it ties to our diet. A lot of it ties to our options.
So when we looked into it and we wanted to order food, we wanted to have fresher food, because even when we did buy it from Northern, it wasn't fresh, it didn't seem good enough quality for its price. So when we decided to order fruits and vegetables, we found that we can do it ourselves and it'd be cheaper. Even with all those expenses, and by the time we sell it, we're still cheaper than Northern by like maybe 50%. And that's really weird, right? It's what is going on?
We hear that in the media really often, right? Is that, you know, due to the high cost of shipping, this is the Northern price. It's true that for, the average person off the street to go in and ship something in certain areas, it is high. But for a corporation that's, you know, shipping that volume, that owns the airline, that has relationships with the trucking companies, as we start to sort of break down prices that way, you know, really challenges this myth that, you know, it's the cost of freight. You know, we have to point our attention to where the problem really is. And in this case, you know, there will never be a profit-driven corporation with external interests that will be able to solve the food insecurity crisis in Northern Canada.
Traditionally, people got a lot of food off of the land. So your wild game and your fish in the river and your birds in the sky, those were typically it died a long time ago. Fruits and vegetables came in, and then stores became so easy to get everything at. And then through colonialism and capitalism, a system is in place here that you know, we don't stop going to the store anymore, and we'll pay the price that they set. Those are financial stressors that don't need to be here in the North. I think it could be done better.
So I just found out maybe a month ago that I'm having a boy, and what I think about what I want him to grow into is such a community base where everybody works together as one, and a healthy community where you can buy your own things, even a store where people grow their own vegetables.
+30 years ago, Granny and Grandpas were growing, had gardens in their backyards. Almost everyone did, and no one's doing that in this generation anymore. And I think there's a need to promote growing your own food and doing your own gardens as well.
We're learning to see what we can grow up here in the north. We created approximately 10,000 square feet of garden. Here's our greenhouse, an experimental project that we just brought in this year, we built this year. In total, we are trying out 57 different vegetables and fruits. So right here are an example of boxes that we created and given to our selected participants in the community to grow their own gardens. Over the summer, we mentor them and help them learn how to grow their own vegetables and fruits.
So we started a social enterprise called the Farmers Market, the Moose Cree Farmers Market. So we have to import our food from Toronto. We have a supplier there. All the way from Toronto, truck to Cochrane, so that's about a 700-kilometer plus ride. And it has to be loaded onto the train because there is no highway access to Moose River, Moosonee Moose Factory. So the freight train comes in twice a week. Those are also challenges to meet. You have to meet deadlines, so the train is not going to wait for anybody. When it arrives in Moosonee, we hire a local truck to pick it up at the Moosonee train, and then it comes over to Moose Factory.
So in my community, I run the local farmers market. I sell a variety of fruits and vegetables to the community at a lower cost. It's so empowering because you see the community like, wow, they're just happy that, you know what, we can actually pay a decent price for fruits and vegetables. We don't have to pay as much as Northern anymore, where it's, hundreds of dollars just for 2 bags of groceries. I can pay, $50 for a bag where it's just fresh and it'll last longer.
I like shopping at the farmers market because the vegetables are fresh and the price is awesome. And they're good. Better than Northern.
I'm hoping that it'll keep going to the future and it'll grow into something bigger where we have our own store one day where we can grow our own produce and sell it to the public and, benefit from each other.
People can gather and get together and create a social enterprise to decide on how they want to shop for their food and what food they want and what price they want. So I think it's empowerment to the people, and I would promote people still go out in the land and continue to get those foods that they used to have, that their grandparents and great-grandparents always had in their freezers and fridges, and I think that it should keep going, and we could find a balance between, today's food and the natural food that we are from, and the land that we're from.
Oh, it's just really nice to be back here. When I was down south, at times I didn't feel like I was at home. Coming back down here is just an amazing feeling to be back. It actually feels like I'm at home again. My name is Anthony Chum, and I am setting up fox snares to try to get some fur so my wife can make clothing with it. My grandfather's the one that has been teaching me. He's been teaching me from home. And I've just been coming out and learning by myself. Right now, I am a local food developer for Moose Cree First Nation, trying to find a better way for food self-determination for the community. And everybody's just come accustomed to going out and buying our food and not actually going out and learning what we have learned in the past. It's getting a little harder for a lot of people because they don't have the funds to go out and do the stuff that they would like to do. And they don't have the equipment, so it's just finding little things like that for the elders and I guess the young ones too, to go out and land for the people that can't afford it or just can't get out. Just the little snips. It doesn't take long for your hands to get cold out here, so it's good to have your skin covered all the time. But I just take a chance once in a while.
Just getting used to being out here. See you guys later. Nice visit.
The economic system that existed prior was circular and closed, right? And we see that in our spiritual practices, and you see that in the relationality that exists between, humans and non-human community members, right? That this is very much a respectful relationship, and there's reciprocity in that. The best we can do is to look to our own household, right? And that's where we have the majority of relationships in our life. How we relate to each other, our family, the non-human community members within our community, right? Is really critical. And I think that's the return, right? Is to, try to shed the elements of that sickness that are there, like greed and entitlement, and transitioning from this taker mentality to a leaver mentality.
I think the world is coming to realize that the way things are happening and making this earth sick, that it's wrong. And we have to start now to repair those wrongdoings of business and greed, and we have to start repairing it for our great-grandchildren and so on.
Mora kagesken denes piche kestendavo. When han a Inuit with te pensa god ge gon gi minyo gonano kinano. And all things we do is for the children that are not born yet. That's a big thing, if you think about it. And you start to really think about it, that do I really need what I want now and take it away from the children that are not yet born?
I'm really proud to be Cree, and I'm really proud from where I came from and my roots and my ancestors, and I can really feel them inside me, where they give me empowerment, saying that, we can achieve amazing things if we put our mind to it and our hearts and keep our roots and go out on the land, and I'm really proud of who I am.
Being Cree to me is protecting my land from development, from restriction. Money's not everything. I think family, our culture, our heritage, our way of life is more than any diamond, any brick of gold, any materialistic thing that's of value. Land is just something you can't take apart and expect to put back together. It's from the core of the earth to the sky that stays together and it makes our earth. Because without all those elements, we don't have a sky, we don't have air, we don't have water to drink, we don't have animals to eat. I hope everybody remembers that without land, without your home, who would you be?
Hey,